Hello, heathens.
Hello, heathens. We are here for another wonderful episode on
Death.
and dying.
We're being like really goth, more goth than
Oh,
we normally are.
we're so goth right now. I can't even.
Yeah, we're fitting our stereotype.
Absolutely. We are in a death and dying mood right now, buddies.
I feel like we always have been. It's just this is like we talk about it a lot, right? And especially with clients, but
Yeah.
here we are to talk about it with the world.
And really for me, lately it just started with my uncle, my great uncle, who was like 90, lived a great life. Um, Died on the Capricorn full moon, which was July 3rd. And it's just been a death and dying experience since then.
Yeah, seriously.
Right.
I feel like Nicole and sorry I'm yawning. I'm getting my butt kicked by a little bit of an infection, so a little out of it. But
I'm tired. So tired.
I know, seriously, I'm like, stop yawning. Um, I feel like
Coffee.
we've been had
Been
we've been
had. We've been
had
had.
we've been
We've been
had.
had. Oh God, we've been had. Quick.
This episode's
They're
gonna be
storming the
unhinged.
cancel.
Oh man. Um, No, we've been put on the same idea and the same path. Again, once again, weird, I know. But I've always hated going to funerals. I don't know about anybody else, but I've always hated it. And it all started with my great grandpa Jake when I was a kid passing away.
Hmm.
And like we had a Catholic funeral, and because my dad's side of the family is very Catholic, and you walked into this, I have to say now, this church is gorgeous.
Oh,
Prettiest church I've
churches
ever been
are.
into.
Oh.
Oh God, it's so pretty. And you walked in the door, and my grandpa's casket was sitting there waiting to greet you. Open, of course.
Hmm.
And it was really, as a kid, I feel like it was really hard to understand because it was like, I don't know, it felt so aggressive and like, here's your dead grandpa, congratulations, or something like,
How old are you in this scenario? Like,
my
or the story?
grandpa Jake died. So it's my great grandpa Jake, and he lived to 93, and he passed away. I want to say, God, it was a while ago. I was a kid. So, well, not a kid. I was a teenager, I think. Yeah. Because I remember this so vividly, and I feel like a lot of my teenage years are when vivid memories happen, right? And like,
Hmm.
I want to say I was like probably 12, 13, something like that. Had to have been right in that like middle age of being a middle school slash early teenager.
Hmm.
And oh man, I remember it, and I don't really remember the funeral because I just remember how I felt and how weird it was, and my family was weird,
Yeah.
and like the whole thing was weird. And then we went because like, then not only was his casket in the front, they paraded it down the middle once everybody sat and placed it up front. And I was just like,
Hmm.
I remember being like, this is kind of weird, man. And then, like, there was a whole service with it. It wasn't
Oh
just
yeah.
about him. We were up, down, doing a bunch of prayers and stuff. And of course,
Hmm.
music was played. And it was a really, when I think about it, it was beautiful. But I just don't remember it because all I remember was the feeling that I had and
Right.
how gross I felt and how sad I felt and how like everybody around me was sad. And at the time, of course, I wasn't a aware person like I am now, especially about like feelings and feeling energies and stuff. But
Yeah.
thinking back to it, I remember the hollowness, and that hollowness that I still feel to this day in a lot of funeral homes and when I go to funerals. And like, unless it's like a super close person to me and like their person died and they need my support, or of course, like I haven't had a close family pass away, knock on wood, since my great grandpa Jake, but like,
Hmm.
funeral homes feel gross, man. Funeral homes feel gross. Funerals feel gross. And
Oh,
that's
I
just where I'm at on it.
no, and they do. When you say hollow, I definitely felt that at the funeral home because I was like, okay, I was looking at, and again, it was the same thing. You know, you had the body up front. This was just a funeral home. It wasn't a Catholic service, and like it was up there, and it was just like I looked at everything, and we talk about how precious life is and how precious every life is and all this kind of stuff, right? But when we talk about dying, I feel like we're missing the mark or failing because nobody wants to look at their own mortality, or they're scared for whatever reason they're going to go to hell or whatever, right? Like they don't know and they fear the unknown is really what it is. And I just remember sitting in the cafeteria part of the funeral home, and I'm like, I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
It's such a cookie cutter. Let's put a building here and let's do this, and then we're going to do this. And it hasn't evolved since whatever. What
Yeah.
it's de-evolved, I feel.
It's absolutely devolved. That's what Klein and I were talking about last week, this week, I can't remember, sometime soon or recently. And we're talking about how all these other cultures have all these rituals and all these things that they do. And like even, Egyptian days, like they were taking care of the body. They believed that taking care of the body would help their souls, things like that on their journey.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
Day of the Dead. Mexican culture, they have Day of the Dead. They bring food and they celebrate the remembrance of their family members that have passed. And it's a whole thing. And I'm like, here we are, like, we're gonna do this one thing this one time, and we're gonna be sad every day on that day each year, and we're gonna carry it on through the rest of our lives, and we're not gonna try to heal, and we're just and it's I think it all starts with that god dang funeral. And I'm sorry if anybody gets offended. Honestly, I
Yeah.
don't fucking care. It all starts with that
No,
god dang funeral.
because we definitely feel, I've never been felt, and I don't know, maybe this is a passing phase. We know I have them, right? Like, and but I feel so passionate right now about like the way we are treating the body, the vessel that has housed our spirit, our soul for however many years that we were on. So it was a vehicle to basically help us through, or a suit that helped us through this incarnation, or this lifetime. And you know I just don't know, do we just, if this is my temple, if this is my, like, I'm supposed to take care of it, like this is the one thing that everybody tells you, take care of your temple, blah blah blah, right? Well, and then we're just going to shrug it off like an old shirt and like that's it.
Well, yeah, I think so. Because, like, honestly, your vessel isn't what really matters, in my
Well,
opinion.
no, and I get that part too, but like it's not like I want to be attached to it or put it on a pedestal or like hate my body because of blah 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 blah. I want to like somewhere in the middle. Like what's the middle part, right? Like I don't want to like fuck off and like eat potato chips until, well, I do kind of, but eat potato chips until I'm 90 if I make it eating potato chips that for that long, right? But like then we're just supposed to be like and
Yeah, and
throw it in a hole.
for me, I think it's more about the people around it. Is like the person that's passed on, in my opinion, is gone, man. They have a whole they're experiencing a whole nother thing. And I think that if we can get a better understanding around death and dying and have some more ideas about it, and maybe come away from the fear of death and dying, I think that it can be a whole different experience in general. Because once we get rid of that fear of death and dying, or like, the fear of hell, then we can move on into this place where we can create a celebration of remembrance and a celebration of their continuation day, as opposed to the death, this is the end of it all.
Right. Yeah, because the other thing is like, okay, so if the Egyptians, if we go back to the Egyptians, and this is what they, we all know that they like mummified and did the whole ritual, oils, incense, they took body parts and put them in jars and, whatever, right?
Right.
Um, you know, w- if Sorry, I'm having like three different thoughts right now.
Right.
Um, because I guess what I'm trying to wrestle in my mind right now is that if the body is still here, does that help the soul? Does it not matter what we do to the body? That doesn't help the soul, or is embalming and uh preserving the flesh, is it harmful? Like these are the questions like that I really need to like meditate on because like I think it's all like what if it's backwards? What if we're embalming and putting them in, which makes no sense that we're putting them in a casket and sealing them uh when they should just go back to the earth. But like, well, not should, whatever, you know what I mean. Um like, does that help? Does it hinder? Does it trap? Does it like, does it not matter at all? And I'm overthinking it.
What I want to say is no, it doesn't, because in my understanding, which again, really quick, I do want to say this because in this conversation, I want to make this very clear that there's no right or wrongs when it comes to death and dying. They're all
We're just
concepts
having,
and
yeah,
beliefs. Okay. So this
we're
whole
just having a
conversation is,
conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to probably, I have multiple different ideas of death and dying that I wanted to bring up today just to talk about them because I find them very interesting about how we come up with these. But I really quick wanted to say that because I want you to know that we say this all the time, but if this is your first episode, Nicole and I never draw lines in the sand because first of all, it's in the fucking sand. Second of all, we believe in everything and nothing all at the same time. So
Right.
to make that clear, but and
Well, the conversation helps us come to a better understanding so we know, so we have a better, because we have a better understanding of it, right? Like we
yeah,
have to
it's like
have the
concepts and
conversation.
beliefs, man. It's just,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not hard lines, you know? So I
Hmm.
guess what I would say to what you were saying is that I don't think it would because it's all earthly 3D things. And because we are not our 3D body, we are more than that. We are fifth, sixth, seventh dimensional beings inside of a 3D body experiencing a 3D life. I don't think that a 3D thing like that could trap you because you're leaving it. But that would be my belief. I don't think that it
Hmm.
could. And also I was listening to a guru earlier who was talking about aren't our bodies, and our bodies are of earth. We are borrowing parts of earth. We are animated parts of earth. And that
Hmm.
that goes back to the earth. Doesn't, it's just a vessel.
Well, then my question to that would be, why would they take so much care? Why would the Egyptians take so much care and
It's
do the rituals?
it's probably for them, the ones that are still here. I think that a lot of what we do for death and dying is for our own concepts, for us that are still here, that don't have ideas outside of it, right?
Hmm.
Because we need some way to feel like we are doing it justice. Like right now, you and I very much feel that we are doing an injustice to the whole process of death, right?
Right.
And maybe that was their way of feeling like they've done something to honor that person and their time and here on this planet.
That's definitely, yeah, like just a final send off kind of thing.
Yeah, like I saw this guy. I've read a lot of articles. I've read and listened to a lot this morning. I had to text Nicole at one point and be like, "Hey, can we like do it a little later? Because I'm really in deep."
Yeah. You're like, I'm in
And
a whole thing.
I'm in a whole thing and I need more time. This guy had said that death is not the end, it's the beginning of a new journey, it's a transition. And he calls it the like it's a departure day or continuation day. And then it was
Hmm.
the closing of one door that leads to an opening of another. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, what if we looked at it more like that, and right? And we were like, okay, so we're gonna honor your time here, but we're gonna celebrate the fact that one, matter cannot be created nor destroyed. So if you really think there's nothing after, I would question that really heavily. Because like we see that all the time. Even plants that die go back into the earth to be made into something new, right?
Right. Hmm.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, what if we like created this whole thing for us that we could also give energy to them to help them further their journey, that at that in that moment they could also feel the love that we have for them on their
Mm-hmm.
journey into the next whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
Well, because like with the plant thing, I was thinking because I have been facing and helping with my grandma lately, and she's 91 and my mom needs help. And um it's interesting to me to see the expression of our bloodline from like I was getting all sorts of hits when I was there too at my grandma's house. Like I'm like, oh God, my head. I don't know. But like these, so if we're, if we're divine light and like we've separated, so we have these different expressions of this light. So it's almost like my bloodline that's in me from my grandma, like the maternal part, because it's my grandma, my mom, me, and then Trinity, right? In theory, that is a divine expression that turned into a bloodline that is now, so you can almost see the evolution from like my grandma, my mom, me, and Trinity. Like how the bloodline has actually evolved from like when my grandma was living and then having my mom. Even like I've realized how family curses are uh brought down too. Like it's um because looking at our parents when we are children and being impressionable and rewriting these patterns that we need, they we not only look at we think I feel like I only looked at the like, oh, here's a pencil and you write like this and that, and then they showed me how to do that, and that's all I'm learning is just the doing part. And what I have come to realize in myself is that when I'm doing a certain project, it's also the emotional pattern that they did while they were doing it. So for example, like my dad would fix something, right? And he fixes lots of things. And he's always in a state of um like he's doing it and then something frustrates him and then like he fixes that and then it completes and then it's perfect, right? And as a kid, when you're looking at your parents about how to be a human being, you're picking up these things. So one day I'm fixing the washing machine and because the door was on the wrong side, so I was like, I can do this. So I took it all apart and I was putting it back together. And so I got super ragey and like, oh, I got frustrated and all this stuff. And then I sat there for a minute and I'm asking myself, why? Why am I so frustrated? Like nothing's terribly wrong. I didn't break it's not final. Like I'm still in the middle of like putting it all together and stuff like that. And I realized that like I get that like I'm not looking at just the pattern of what we're doing, but the pattern of the feeling that goes with it too. The stuff that we're kind of unaware of that we're doing. And I think you and I and some other people are like more aware of their actions and their feelings together. But I think sometimes like we don't see some of those feelings that come through, but our children, our pets especially, because especially when they're nonverbal, they see everything because they don't know how to do things. So it's not just that, like, oh, you pick the pencil up, put it to the paper. It's also like how you felt when you picked up that pencil, how you felt when you like wrote stuff down and the completion of that process. And then it's like over and 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 over again.
And
That
that's
was my
like,
TED Talk.
and that was like your concept of like, like, I don't, I'm sorry. I don't know why. What was the, like, were you saying like that's like what you believe why we come down here for? Is like to keep furthering through our our generational bloodline?
No, that was more of like how curses get passed down through bloodlines. So like
Oh,
if I was abandoned or and then like that wound created whatever and then like I have that hurt that's open and I give it to my child, she somehow repeats the process and gets abandoned and blah blah blah.
oh, and you brought that up because you were saying you were getting that through what your grandma passing right now and being there a lot and seeing like all the family together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh I'm sorry, I got lost and I was like, wait, what are we?
What are we
That makes
doing?
sense. Yeah, because when you're around your family, like it's crazy how death like brings us together sometimes,
Oh.
and most of the time, honestly. Every once in a while you hear about it not bringing people together, but when you are actually able to be aware, yeah, it's crazy the things you can learn about your family or like the bloodline that you're in, generational like ancestry work you still have or you can see, and like that's a cool experience to be able to see it now and be able to start like working on things, you know?
Well, the nice thing about looking at it, you almost see like I can have compassion for my mom, I can have compassion for my grandma, and my grandma's not the easiest person to deal with. Um, but and it gets, you get especially being a caretaker, which my mom has done most of the caretaking, uh, along with my uncle. And she's just not an easy person. Now, she's not like we don't have to strap her down or anything, like, but like she's kind of like a toddler right now. Like if she doesn't want to do it, she's gonna like throw a fit. But the problem with this toddler is that because I feel like we all do end up being toddlers, but like the problem with this toddler is they know all the language,
Yeah.
right? And they know exactly how to hurt you too because they're family, right? They know they put the buttons, they installed the buttons, they know where they are.
Yeah. True that.
Okay, continue.
Um, let's see. Okay. I thought this was a really interesting concept that I haven't put two and two together in one of those dumb moments, sort of, but almost every religion teaches us that death doesn't exist. Death of the
Really?
body, but not death of the soul.
Oh, okay. I
Almost
was like,
every
what?
major religion teaches us that death does not exist. They teach us that the soul lives past the end of the body and the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really cool thought because I was like, wow, I haven't thought about that because people think that, you say death and it's immediately they think it's an end. And we don't think past it. We don't think that's where it stops. Even if that's not our true beliefs, in the moment when we have somebody that we know that dies, we think that they're dead. That's all we think
Mm-hmm.
about. We don't keep in mind the fact that they have a soul that can live on and will live on past the end of the body and the mind, that this is a transition. And I really wanted to talk about that because I thought that was a really cool concept to think about because they do teach that. Almost every single religion talks about an afterlife,
Mm-hmm.
a life after the death of mind and body and soul, or well, mind and body fully.
Well, it's hard because they keep it all secrets and like, we don't know what's happening in death. We really don't know, blah, blah, blah. And because we have no proof, right? Like we all need proof kind of thing. And I think it's going into that dark forest and not having a flashlight. And I think that's why people don't actually like think about the concept or think about it past, the actual dying and death phase because it's so scary to wander in the woods by yourself. You feel like you're going to be alone. You feel like you're being removed from, and really it's kind of a selfish kind of thing too, the living wants the dead to, I think it was Dolores Claiborne that I was looking at. And she's like, when you die, you look at your body and you're like, oh, wow, like I didn't realize I looked that bad. And then they're free from their body too. So they're so in a state of, uh, um, they're free for the first time. And especially, and I don't know so much. This is, I guess, more for like if you were sick for a long time, or maybe like, you were dying and it took a minute. And I guess that would happen anyway. Um, but looking back at your body and being like, I don't want to go back in there. And we know it's not gonna, like, even if you went back, it's not like it's gonna heal or anything like that at that point. And you she talked about how they get the sense of freedom for the first time. But
Mhm.
it's the living that holds on so tightly because, we feel the pain of separation. We're selfish, right? Like I can't live without you. I'll miss you. All this kind of stuff, which sometimes I think is a little bit programmy and manipulative
Mhm.
because then you have to feel guilty for dying.
Yeah. I think it also comes down to a fear of our own mortality
Oh, absolutely.
because we just talked about aging, and this is why we're talking about death after aging, is because I do believe that's a huge plague on society is our fear of our own mortality. But when you realize that, there is more outside of it than just your physical mortality,
Mm-hmm.
then there's like it can get really fucky because I got into the fucky part of this where it was like now we're questioning if we should be immortal and like if we think we should be immortal, and I was just like, oh man, this is
Okay.
just, yeah, I was like, and we got to get out of here. Moving on.
My head, it hurts.
But yeah, I've seen that video before you sent me, and like that whole thought is a very interesting one too, because I can't say that there's anything that I truly 100% believe in, other than
Right.
the only
Right.
thing I can hold true in my heart is that I do believe that whatever we experience beyond this realm that we're in is what we would understand and call universal love. I just
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there is like healing and even more growth after this lifetime, and I don't think that it's pain and misery and punishment and you're the bad kid that gets to go to the corner again because you didn't do enough or you weren't good enough, even though you thought you were
You're
doing just
right.
fine. I
Right. Right.
There's like so many concepts. It gets hard talking about death with people and your beliefs, right? Because like there's just many things that I believe in that don't make sense altogether, like soul
Mm-hmm.
contracts and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, where it's like you agree to be and experience things on this planet. And I believe that you agree to be like, you always say, there's a saying that makes me think about this that you say a lot, and you're like, I'm okay with being the villain in your story.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
there's people in on this planet or have existed on this planet, right, that have done some really fucked up things. Let's say Ted Bundy is a good example, right? We have people that have done some really fucked up things, but I don't believe that's without purpose,
Right.
and I don't believe that's without growth. So there's a part of me that believes in soul contracts, and there could be people that are like have to agree. They agree to do certain things on this planet to be able to promote more understanding, more knowledge, more growth.
Well, and that's the thing is morals, morals are a human concept.
Yeah.
They're not a universal concept.
Just like time. Death is a mortal concept. Morals,
Mm-hmm.
mortal concept. I mean, I could give you a
Mm-hmm.
list of mortal concepts that really aren't like, I just can't believe there are things that matter outside of the 3D world. Probably
Wait, say
paper.
that. Say that again.
I said I could give you a list of concepts and things that people really believe that I don't think exist outside of the 3D world.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Morals being one of them.
Right. And there was a thing that about morals, how like the closer you get to divinity, and this is kind of the hermetic laws, like you go from Earth is in the center, the moon is around, the moon is the next level, and then I think um it goes Mercury, Venus, and these are all levels or concepts, right? Like it
Yep.
goes all the way up to Saturn is the last one before you hit the ring of samsara, which is what we hit and then bounce back to. That's the karmic cycle in some traditions. Um, where was I going?
She's on a train, but she doesn't know where she's going.
Fuck, I left. I lost it. It left. It went. Okay,
You were talking about
moving on.
moral concept, morals being a concept. I don't know how that got into the karmic chain, but the closer you get to
Oh,
divinity,
okay,
yes.
okay, 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 okay. So we were talking about how there's these levels of energies, like radiating out to the universe, and it starts with the planets and then it ends up before it's to the all or everything, the big bright white light. Uh, there's the fixed stars that feed the planets energy. The fixed stars are they're in between the planets, lower vibration, and the all, which is where we came from. And that's so it pours it down to okay, anyway. So those we were watching a lecture, the fixed stars, they were talking about when you're using magic and you're using energy, that if you're working with the fixed stars, you have to be careful because some of the fixed stars don't give a fuck because there's no morality in it. So if you say you want something, they will bulldoze down your life because it's not about bad or good. It's just about getting there. It's not about whether they're going to, like the perfect example is some guy wants to date the girl next door. I think that's the love of his life, right? So he does a spell for it. Well, he doesn't realize that she has like an amputee fetish. So then he gets into a horrible car accident. Both his legs are severed off. And that's how he meets this girl and they fall in love and do this. Do you know what I mean? Like they
Welcome to the
don't,
Heathens for the People fucking podcast, man. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. If you look at it, like it's not bad or good, right? Like, but that's when you get so far from humanity and Earth and the 3D concept of it that it's not about bad or good anymore, right? Like
right,
it's not about what's right or wrong.
right. Also, I have to just say that can you guys tell that she's a horror fanatic? Give us such a horrific example of working with a big star. I'm like, he gets a car accident. Now he's got two amputated legs. He's got them cut off. He's
That's why you gotta be really careful with magic because shit like that happens because you didn't think your shit through.
uh, that was Jesus. Okay,
Sorry, I just transferred from earth to air, so just the sword.
we're gothic.
I have a
It's a
sword now.
gothic episode, man. We got to have a little horror story in it. What's goth without some horror?
Let's talk about the horror.
It's fake. Um. Okay. So let's talk about what happens like after we die. Cause like I found some really fun concepts and like some of them I can get with. And then I wanted to again say we all have questions about it and theories from our own experiences. Okay. But truly none of us know. We don't
Right.
know.
Let me real quick before we go into after. I don't know if you found this real quick, right? But like right before you die, did you see a lot of these patterns where it was like when death is coming, the consciousness gets out of the body, there's a dark tunnel, there's the light at the end of the tunnel, you see families and loved ones, there's some sort of judgment. And I don't mean like the Christian faith judgment so much. And I think we really need to expand our consciousness on what judgment means, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
so
don't
this
think
is
we need to be.
this is
Okay.
part of after death, yes.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's like after you die, what you're going through.
Also, side note, we not side note, but side note. Um, I watched something that I would like to maybe research a little bit more. They talked about, the guy talked about, we're all told to go towards the light, right? The dark tunnel and the light. But he was like, this is from the aeons, and they're tricking you to reincarnate because they feed off our life force. So that's why we keep, he's like, if you turn around and go towards the dark, that's really the way out or something like that. And I was like, what?
I guess, yeah, that all just goes into if you believe if there's a light when you die.
Right, right. I was like, I don't know. I'll have to die and find out.
Right. Please not soon though.
No, I'm living to 109.
Whoa.
I
Wow.
don't know. That's just the one that
Okay.
I have a whole plan when I'm old too. I'm so
Good
excited about this.
good luck, baby.
Um, I'm gonna at 2 or 4 in the morning because I'll be old. Gonna dress in a complete
Oh yeah, we talked about this in the last episode.
gray and sit there at the window and be like, I'm a ghost.
We're gonna pretend we're ghosts to scare the neighborhood kids.
Just stand awkwardly in the yard.
Yeah.
Although that's probably how I get put in a psych ward.
Ah, nah. Trinity will still be there.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Remember we said, oh yeah, that's just my mom. Don't mind her.
That's just my
Is your
mom. It's
mom
fine.
dead? Actually, no, she's playing a joke on you.
Actually, no, she's got makeup on right now. Like,
Actually, no, she thinks she's funny. That's what she'd say.
right. That's exactly what she would say too. No, she thinks she's funny.
Yep. So yeah, actually what you were just talking about was one of the theories that I stumbled upon, which was that after the journey from this dimension, right? Like we die, we go through this journey into a rest period. So the way that this person was describing it, and this person is a medium, they were saying that basically it's was it Dolores? She said it too. It's like taking one seat into another seat. You go
Yeah,
from one seat
yeah.
into another. It happens in a blink of an eye. There's not this like
Dramatic.
lifting out of your body up into the
And
cosmos, and then you're out of the Milky Way, and then you're in the light. And it's like
like the
it's
end of Constantine.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Fucking love that movie. Yeah. Fucking love that movie. And if you guys do not know what we're talking about, you need to watch Constantine so that you can laugh with us because that is the
Ex-
best part of the whole
I'm
movie.
gonna need you to pause this podcast immediately. Go watch Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, maybe when we
And
get more into editing in the future, we can edit that in a little funny clip. But
oh
um,
yeah.
so after that little journey, right, from this dimension, we get a period of rest. And they were saying that this takes anywhere from 6 months to a year. But what I would like to keep in mind with all of this is that time's not linear, except for in the 3D world.
I heard the rest period was, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
What did he say? Uh hold on. It's coming. Um, you rest for as many days that you slept on Earth or something like
Hmm,
that.
interesting. See, this is the thing, you guys. Again, like we have all kinds of fucking ideas. Like this medium's like 6 months to a year. And I'm like, well, is that in
Yeah.
our time? Because like time's linear and like or time's not linear. It doesn't time only
No,
exists here
right.
on this planet. So like what?
Right, right. Well, and there's so much things that we don't understand that we're trying to formulate together. So really what we're doing is we've got we're trying to form the pieces really of the puzzle.
Well, and my thing to that is because I get this question a lot. What do you think about death? What do you think happens after death? And I have an idea, which I'll tell you guys later because it's a whole thing. But my question is why do we need to know? We don't. Our purpose here is to be living.
Well, the knowing, and I get that. I totally get that. But the wondering too is also like, okay, so if I have, say, I have a child that is sick and is going to pass on, right? And I love this thing dearly, right? Ooh, how do I know this it's going to be taken care of? I won't be there. Like it's a very selfish kind of like protective, motherly kind of, like your boyfriend, my husband, like your mom, my mom, like, this kind of thing. Like we have these attachments
Mm-hmm.
and, for our own sake, I guess.
For our own selfishness.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate and it sounds really harsh, but that's where I was going to go. The reason that we want to know
Hmm.
is for our own selfish needs to take care of it. We can't trust in the universe. We can't let it go and keep moving on and focusing on our lives and our own growth.
Trust.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a lot of when you really start looking into it. That's why this morning I was like, okay, I need a little bit more time because I also need a cool down minute because like brain was like yours where it's
Ooh.
like boom, 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 boom. Because
Uh-huh.
I
You're
also
like, hold on.
meditated on this when I got my whole idea of concept. Like, I was like,
Oh,
what do I
that's
actually
cool.
believe? It was a whole thing. But yeah, that's what I was coming to a conclusion with. It's hard to let go because we don't have trust in the universe. It's hard
Right.
to let go because all we can see sometimes is the bad in the world and the realm that we're in right now. And we can't trust that there is that unconditional love on the other side that's going to take care of whomever that is. And that's their journey and not ours.
Well, because our concept on earth of what unconditional love is, this is why we can't figure it out, is because our
Yes.
unconditional love is actually filled with fucking conditions. Like, I
And
only love you,
toxicity.
right? I only love you
Yes.
if you meet these needs,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Because if you really think about unconditional love, which everybody likes to put on a fucking billboard and go, oh, I love you unconditionally. Huh? Do you know what that fucking means? That means that if he crosses your boundary, you still love him.
Yep.
If he can, if they like murder your cat, you still love them because it's unconditional. So,
Unconditional is like no good, no bad.
right, right. It's just love.
It's just love. You're exactly right. There's all these stipulations and hurt and pain and fear and boundaries and all this stuff that goes along with our idea. We haven't hit
Yeah.
unconditional love yet. Is
We are not, yeah, we are not, we have
when,
no idea the concept of unconditional love,
yep,
actually.
exactly.
That is a way too big of a concept for us to actually think about, like, or actually perform, really, at this stage of humanity, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. I
we
mean,
need to evolve a little more.
the idea of a life after death and for some people is a little bit past their mental threshold, which is understandable because it's
Right.
I got told today, stop reaching too far or you won't be back when I was in meditation because I was getting pretty deep in and I could feel it. And then I heard it. You're reaching
Uh-huh.
too far, you will not come back. And I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. That's actually, it's fine. Yeah, okay. I'm coming
Okay,
back. I'm
I
coming
gotta
back.
go.
I gotta
I
go.
gotta go.
Rip it back.
All right, everybody, we gotta go home. Let's go.
Fucking peace out, man. Gotta go. Okay, so back to this theory, right? We're in that rest period, however long we think it is. Then we
Mm-hmm.
start our life review.
Mm-hmm.
And then your life review consists of like, there's a belief that you're surrounded by all your guides, you're surrounded by your loved ones, and you go
Mm-hmm.
through it together and you learn about what you've learned, what you did for other people, what those little things happened, what happened with those, how those played out, like
Mm-hmm.
missed opportunities or things that you were supposed to learn, but you chose like to go on a different path, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the review is done, then the soul transitions fully into spirit. And now you're free to explore and visit, and then you can take on jobs like if you want to. And jobs meaning you could be a spirit guide, you could be a guardian angel, you can help your loved ones, you can go and you can, I don't know, I'm sure there's like a multitude of things that we can understand. But
Mm-hmm.
what they said then is then you're planning for the next incarnation at some point within that. And they believe that the ultimate goal was to experience, give, and receive the unconditional love of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that
We
belief.
There was a download that I got because being a hairdresser, we talk to a lot of people and a lot of life events happen, right?
Yes.
So I was sitting with one of my clients who had recently lost and please forgive me, this will be triggering. She lost an infant, like, and he was only alive for I think a couple of hours. And as we're sitting there in that moment and I'm listening to her, I get this download about like, okay, so this is my thought on that is that he needed unconditional love so that he could take that whatever his life was before, he had to be born to these parents for this amount of time just to get the healing that he needed to move on and go into another life. Now, I also know that like, that's a double-edged sword too, because not only that, you have to, you're the wounds and stuff that is happening to the parents and, that kind of thing. It's probably in some way that I can't explain fully. It's good for both. We just don't know. We just don't look at it that way, right? Like,
Right.
um, because think about this. That is literally the only time. Well, I don't know about the literally. For my concept, I guess it's so easy to love something like that unconditionally,
Yeah.
right?
I could see that. Yeah. I could see that in a lot of parents,
Mm-hmm.
especially moms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like that's where it gets a little controversial in thought. And this is with all respect because you never want to that's something that I'm actually glad you brought that up. Sorry, I have like four things coming in at once.
Yeah, yeah.
Really quick, I wanted to say that grief is real,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and we have to let it run its course. We're going to do a whole episode on grief because
Mm-hmm.
Nicole and I have many things that we'd like to offer for people as well within that. But grief is real and that is never to be diminished.
No.
None of this is to diminish the grief behind losing something like that. I can't imagine literally at
Mm-mm.
all.
Mm-mm.
Um, but what we don't see in the universe is kind of like the fixed star you were talking about, is that while that could be a horrifying experience, it could lead to something beautiful and something that could help others. That mom could go on to help other people that go through that,
Right.
because now that she has this experience, if she can make it on the other side, she can go through that. We don't know what the universe has planned, and we've talked about this before. The horizon can be so much better than what we have right now, and there's a reason for everything,
Right.
right? It doesn't
Right.
just happen just to happen. um, and as shitty as it is, but you she went silent. I saw her dying with the muted mic. But Yeah, so it sounds a little insensitive. I understand that that could sound insensitive, and I mean it with no, like I said, I'm not diminishing the fact that that's a horrifying thing. It's just that when you start to come to an understanding about the way that the universe works, at least a touch of the understanding, you start
Right.
to understand like how something so tragic and so horrible can turn into something that is so beautiful and so helpful and so caring. We've seen this multiple
Hmm.
times with deaths of gay people. We get foundations that help them. We get, there's all these things that are horrifying that they happen, but they can lead to better understanding, more love, more care, more
Hmm.
communion.
It's evolution, right? Like it's all to help us evolve all of it. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't understand the concept of it. And I was having a conversation yesterday with my client about, I was like, yeah, I want to open a funeral home, right? And she's like, why? I was like, I just think I just want to put the beauty in death. Like I want it to be better, right? And and she said something. And I love having a conversation with this woman because she likes to be controversial, or she likes to could be combative a little bit. Not in an aggressive way, but just like she tests my theories and I like that, right? Because I
Hmm.
can get stronger. I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to research that a little more. Anyway, so she goes, well, death is evil. Why would you want to like? And I was like, wait a minute. I go, why do you think death is evil?
Yeah.
I go, death. And, you know, she was like, well, like, I think she said first, well, it takes, the loved ones away from them, right? Like, it causes her pain. And I go, so everything that causes you pain is evil? And she's a highly spiritual woman in Christianity and like very open to concepts and stuff like that. Um, so it was a moment for me that was really cool because like uh I wanted her to think about it differently. I didn't want her to um I didn't even know that she would have thought that way being spiritual either. Like, but it was just interesting because I was like, wow, do people think that death is evil? Like, is that the underlying concept on that?
I could see how it is. Yeah, it takes your loved ones away. It takes you
Mm-hmm.
away. It's the
Mm-hmm.
fear of mortality again. Like it's the fear of pain. It's pain in general. It's wounds we haven't healed. It's a
Which is
lot.
so funny to me because if you thought, I don't know, because I think through that and I'm like, wait a minute, like, if it's evil, how come we all have to experience it?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, are we destined? If the concept was evil, right? Like, if death is evil, I have a hard time because I'm like, okay, so we're all supposed to experience death then? So we're all supposed to experience evil? I don't.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, that is a very interesting thought there. I haven't heard
Right.
anybody say that before. So I also found two different Wiccan concepts, which are vastly different.
Oh, please.
Some Wiccans believe that our souls are immortal and free from our bodies, and there's no particular place to go, and reincarnation is purely optional. Other Wiccans believe that death is the actual end, that life after death is considered nothing more than wishful thinking or fear of one's own mortality, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And as far as consciousness goes, it's lights
Wow.
out for us permanently.
Wow. That's from Wicca?
There's obviously the Wiccans, it doesn't fall all into one because those are two vastly different beliefs behind
I was
death.
like,
Oh, I
wow.
know, right? I wanted to bring them up though, because there are some people I don't know if my partner actually 100% believes in this, but he has made comments before about how he believes there is nothing after death, that it is kind of like the lights out permanently. And it's very interesting because, like, I question everything. I even question my freaking self. I question Nicole. Nicole questions me. I enjoy having my theories tested because then it makes
Right.
me revise them, unless it's theory that I really can't even say I fully believe in. Then I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm not even there yet.
Right, right,
But
right.
the I there's things I enjoy about like some Wiccans, because this isn't all. This is just two beliefs I found because I was looking at all different kinds of beliefs, paganism, Wiccan, Christian. I read a lot about Hinduism. I read a lot about Jewish. There's a lot of beliefs out there, but I found these two very interesting because they're so vastly different, that our souls are immortal and free from our bodies, and there's no particular place to go. We get to choose. Like they had said that some people believe we get to, because time isn't linear, we can go back and watch the pyramids get, you know, made, and then in a
Oh,
blink of an
built
eye,
and
we can
stuff.
go
Yeah.
to a different Milky Way. We can go to Pluto. We can go wherever we want to like get more knowledge. And then we get to choose if we want to reincarnate or not. It's purely optional. But then on the other hand, there's some Wiccans that believe that it is lights freaking out permanently. Done. You're done. You're done. Done.
Which I find that actually really odd because, like, how do they explain ghosts?
There was a part of that article on there about ghosts, but I was like, that ain't what I'm looking for. But it was on there, so I was like, no, 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 no. I also found a video about demons in my searching today that I'm gonna look at later because I was like, oh,
Oh,
why is this coming up? But okay.
that's good.
So yeah, that's what I found about beliefs, and I'm gonna save my beliefs for the end because I want to hear what you have about the afterlife too before I go into like my crazy concepts.
Yeah. I know that with when we talked about for magicians, I know the concept of that loosely is why we're basically when we do our rituals daily and we do these purifications of our energy, we're creating this rainbow body, which I think the Tibetan monks do as well. So if you look up the rainbow body and the Tibetan monks, you'll see when they die, they really just shrivel up to these little
Worms.
um like their physical body
Oh,
like shrivel up really small.
almost like fairy size.
Almost like Baltimore when he was coming back in the fourth one, like that.
Oh no. Oh no. A little
The
rainbow nugget, you could say.
well, that's the funny thing is that it's the only way I can explain it so everybody kind of understands. But if you Google it, they've got pictures of like this hat or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, and after death, there is there's like a second death. So once you die, you have your ethereal body. You've shedded off your physical body. So then you have an etheric body, and that has so much energy. This is why the concept of if you look up that book Monsters that we had on a couple episodes ago by John Michael Greer, they talk about vampires, and this is where vampires came in, that you would in the Egyptian times, they would take these kings and process them into being a vampire. Well, the thing was about that is that you had to feed the vampire. So there was a priest that would continue to give the etheric body energy so that it could live on.
Hmm.
Um, so if you don't have anybody, or if you haven't built up your etheric body, if you don't have anybody, like if you're not feeding off of anybody, Although it's really hard to become a vampire nowadays because of a lot of things. And again, you can read it in that book. Um,
We also talked about it in our podcast on monsters.
yes, yes. Uh, After the etheric body is gone, then I forget what happens, but I think that's another level. So your etheric body goes and then you go back into reincarnating. So what the magician is trying to do is if we can complete the great work in one life cycle, we can break the ring of samsara. So we don't have to be reincarnated again and again. So you break that ring so that you can go into divinity or into your soul family soup thing that's up there in the sky somewhere.
Not the family soup.
The family light soup. Yep. It's family light soup in the sky. Mm-hmm. Those are the facts. Facts, folks, facts.
Is it alphabetical soup? Everybody has their own letter.
Yes, yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys.
Alphabetical soup.
Yeah, we have to make jokes during this, okay? Because death can be a hard concept for people, especially when we're testing theories and ideas, okay?
Yeah, and we don't take ourselves seriously.
No, it's too boring. Like that would be boring. We're not boring.
What's the point?
Your only individuality in the family soup is what letter you got.
Why am I a K? This is dumb.
Hey, I like K's. Both my first and last names start with K. It's a beautiful
Oh.
letter.
What do you think what is the most beautiful letter to you? I know you have one.
Yeah, I do. It's only when people that the people that really have like that beautiful, like they can do all the shits around the letter. I really
Mm-hmm.
love when M's are done.
Oh yeah, M's are
M's are
really
always
good.
so pretty to me. I think that
Mm-hmm.
every time I see it, the way that they like it's the flow of it. Also, of course, Libra. It's my Libra. It's very balanced letter.
Oh yeah. It is a very balanced letter.
Yeah. I just think M's are super beautiful. What about you? What's your favorite letter?
God, I like anything with a tail, like G and Y and
Yeah, I can see that.
J,
You
all
can
of
make
them.
almost anything have a tail if you're really good with the lettering. Calligraphy, there it is.
Calligraphy.
Calligraphy. That's a fun word. Get that G really in the back of your throat there.
Calligraphy.
Well, do you have any more ideas or theories you had found before we come up with tell them our own concepts at the point? Because I'd like to end with our own concepts so that when we revisit this in the future, we can see how it's changed. Because I think that would be very interesting to see.
There was more we need to wait.
There once was a. I thought you were gonna start singing that
There
song.
were once. Oh, no, there's nothing else I have. I mean, there was only one thing that I wrote down about like, uh, sometimes when you will go back to Earth or reincarnate into Earth, it's about the guilt that you carry. Also, there was something about like they were talking about concepts about coming back. So, like, if you were heavily addicted to alcohol, you would stay in the rest period, but you would have a thirst that you couldn't quench.
Mhm.
Or if you were like whatever you did in life that you couldn't feed enough, the addiction, you would relive that for a period of time in the rest period.
Man, I can't wait. I feel like that all goes along with soul regressions because there's so many things of why they believe that you have multiple lives when it comes to soul regressions. That's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And that is definitely one of them. That if you are heavily addicted and you died because of that addiction, you come back because of the addiction. And I was like,
Mm-hmm. Well, then they said like uh if you were very instinctual, you could come back as a like animal. If you were now this is untested. I didn't research it further than this, but it was a cool concept, I thought. Because I was just looking for difference of opinions.
Yeah, me
If you
too.
were bad or whatever, you like came back as an insect or something. Uh and I don't know what the definition of was of bad, you know. I forget what the other thing. And then if you just lived in the middle and you didn't like progress your spirituality, you just stayed an even keel human being, you come back as that human being again and again until you start evolving your spiritual. Because technically, we're trying to always get back to divinity.
See, this is like the hard part when we're talking concepts too, because sometimes there's shit that I'm like, I could see that.
Right.
But then you get something so different, you're like, I could also see that.
Right. That's the whole thing is we're looking at pieces of a bigger puzzle and we're missing pieces,
Yeah.
right? And that's why it's kind of grasping in the dark.
Well, and so there is this theory I have that I partially believe in, where I believe that the afterlife 100% depends on your beliefs because we create our own reality. And I believe we also create our own afterlife as well. And it's part of our free will that we experience on a daily basis. Now, again, when I say I believe in that, I can't say that with 100% confidence, even though I used it's 100% on your beliefs. I can't say that I 100% believe in that, but there is a part of me that does. That's like, I'm going to branch on it further. So,
Well, it's a working theory.
yes, there we go. I love that. Yes. So, with this theory, I believe that there's many realms or layers existing outside of just the 3D as well as within the 3D. They exist on top of each other, and because we're not in those same vibrations, we can't reach them. And if we change our vibrations, we can't. So
Mm-hmm.
the reason that this belief happens too is because of everybody else fully believing in things. So what I'm getting at is I believe that we align ourselves with the vibration of whichever realm we believe in. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe that all gods and gods exist within each of their realms. And because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like an egregore in a way, I guess, for the better lack of terms, and trying to break it down simply, is that if you are somebody who believes in Odin and you believe in Valhalla, when you die, you will go to Valhalla. If
Mm-hmm.
you are somebody who believes in Zeus, I don't know much about Greek mythology and where you go after, but you'll go there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I know all I know is that Hades and his realm exists, so you could go to Tartarus or whatever. But like, the Christians, heaven and hell. If you believe in heaven and hell, that's where you'll go based on what you believe you deserve and based on where you are at energetically.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I believe that the journey is to move past that. And that's where people get caught in. I believe that there is more past those realms and we can get caught in it's kind of like I don't know, you're in water and you're trying to swim up, but then there's like a layer of something keeping you down and blah, 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 and you're supposed to swim past those.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would move more on past that whole 3D understanding of us being God. And I believe that we get to choose to come to Earth and experience what we want to experience and learn, and that the opportunities of more knowledge within this Earth, because I believe that we have powers beyond what's limited here in the 3D. And that is mostly what we're also trying to achieve, is to unlock those powers within the 3D realm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my little rant on where I'm at right now within my theory.
No, I think that's a good concept because it's almost like if you sometimes in some shows like Supernatural had it where heaven was these little pockets for people. So if your favorite place was the bar or whatever, because that was one of the characters he loved being in the bar. So his favorite place was his heaven. And
Mm-hmm.
then you would go out of that like room or whatever that entrance, and then you would go into another one, and that would be their like concept of heaven or hell or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's almost like the belief in purgatory and the layers to heaven. If there's layers to hell, there's
Mm-hmm.
layers to heaven. And depending
Mm-hmm.
on, I was reading about this today too, because I've already heard about this, but the idea is very hard for me to grasp still because I'm not there yet. But essentially, your vibration that you align with on the while you're on the 3D planet is where you go once you shed your body, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on how spiritual you are versus how egotistical you are.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I was like, that is very interesting because that's
Yeah.
like the idea of purgatory
Right.
and the levels of
Yeah, I did.
purgatory.
So purgatory, I never really looked up or understood really until it was coming up through my search. So if you are, what was it? If you were good in Christian faith, if you were good, you went to heaven. If you were bad, you went to hell. And if you were Christian, if you were a practicing Christian and you still did bad, you went to purgatory or something like that. Like purgatory was like the weird place. Like it would be like you being like, yes, I believe in God and I go to church every day, but then you were out murdering people later and then
Beating
you went
on
back
your
to church.
wife, doing stuff
Right,
like
right,
that.
right,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, huh. I didn't think I'm like, okay, I need to think about that. It gave me a lot of stuff to think about, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know today is probably a little brain hurty for you guys, but I hope all of this gives you a lot more to think about. And so I guess the biggest theme of today would be that you can't destroy matter, okay? So there is something after the death of the mind and the body.
But you can't destroy energy.
Yeah, you can't destroy it's that the if you want to break it into science, yes, the matter cannot be destroyed nor created.
Okay.
So it's like you can't destroy it. It's exactly right. The guru
Mm-hmm.
I was listening today, he was like talking about how we don't think about this in the way of our bodies. Like we wouldn't think about a light bulb. You can physically see it. You
Mm-hmm.
know that it's working, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
neurons and the whatever, the electrons, whatever that's in it that are creating the
Mm-hmm.
light, right? But we don't think down to that physical part of it. I was just
Right.
like, made me think. I was like, dang,
You're like, yes,
yes,
yes, yes.
yes, make me think
Yeah.
more.
I need more. My head has not exploded quite enough yet. I need more.
I'm not lost in space yet, so
Right.
you ain't push me over that threshold, baby.
Huh.
Unless it's the pool, and then I will jump willingly.
Willingly the deep end.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
is
Yes. All right. Are
yeah.
we done with
So
death and dying?
yeah, I think we're done with death and dying.
Done with
Our
death
next
and
one's gonna
dying.
be fun. We're gonna talk about folklore and crystals, crystal folklore.
Is this not fun?
I enjoyed myself, but like I said, I understand this can be a little brain hurty for some people because
Mm-hmm.
you would have caught me years ago with all this talk. I would have been like, "What are you? What? I can't.
Right.
I gotta go.
I gotta go. I
I
gotta
gotta
go.
go.
I can't.
I can't
I
think about
can't do
that."
it. Mm-mm.
But yeah, I think that's it, peeps.
Very nice. Wait, I think this was a very nice conversation.
Yeah, I agree. All right, homies. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye for now.